Podcast is a member of WildGamesProductions.com and D20Radio.com.
Between the time when wargamers played with chainmail and the rise of the Wizards of the Coast, there was an age of gamers. And unto this, Gygax, destined to bear the crown jewel of TSR upon a troubled brow, to show you all how to roll for initiative.
The Roll for Initiative podcast, volume number 3, issue number 102. DM Vince sitting alongside DM Will.
Hey!
And this week we're doing an interview with, oh wait a minute, he's back again, DM Jayson.
Hi.
This week Jason's going to sit down with us and talk a little bit about the cat that jumped out of the bag, or the water that spilled out of the bucket. What's the phrase?
Sure.
Whatever. So we're going to jump right into it, Jason. Why don't you expand a little bit before we get into questions about what you said last week on the show?
Okay.
Or what you couldn't say, now you can say?
So I said we had a project that I've been working on since I left the show, and didn't want to say anything about it until it was actually out in the public. And it's going to be released in December, and the news leaked about what it was. So there was a lot of blog posts and some actually pretty cool discussions over at N-World and Dragon's Foot and some Facebook groups and various other places where a lot of really passionate gamers are. And so, yeah, it's called Gygax Magazine. That's the project that I've been working on. I've actually partnered up with Luke and Ernie Gygax and a few other, really notable, great people. And we're putting it out in December.
Cool. Okay, so my first question about the magazine, most people have been asking this. Now, you said it was going to be a print-only first magazine, correct?
No, it is going to be print. There is going to be a print edition. But if you want to get it on PDF or iPad versions, those will be available as well.
I'm sorry, will the price differ, or are you set on a price yet, or no?
Yeah, see, this is the thing sometimes about announcing things before they're out, is that we haven't actually settled on a price yet. There's a little bit of discussion about what it ought to be. Mm-hmm. I want to keep it, something that's, fair. And we just honestly haven't even figured out all of our costs yet. So it will differ because it costs more money to make a print issue than it does to distribute a digital one. So we want to make sure we give a discount on the digital issue.
Okay, so if your digital issue might be a few or maybe a couple cents cheaper for now is all you could say.
But probably cheaper. I mean, the thing is that obviously each one has their advantages. I like print because you can hold on to it and save it. I mean, I have every Dragon magazine saved, right?
Yeah.
But, well, not every. I don't have an issue 1. But, and I don't have anything after a certain year as well. But anyways, so the print one, it costs a little bit more, so we have to charge a little bit more for it. The digital, it'll be available in an iPad version, which you get through the iPad newsstand. Right. But there's also going to be a PDF version for people that just use any type of device, whether it's, web, Kindle, a Sony reader, Nook, whatever you have. The PDF will be DRM free.
Oh, cool.
Because DRM's a kind of a big hassle. It makes it really difficult for people to use what they've bought legitimately. And so I figure if we make it DRM free and say we're selling this, we ask people to please buy the PDF and not share it, without asking. Don't put it on file sharing sites and stuff like that. We ask people to just please, buy it if you like it, because we trust that it's a good community that's going to, respect that. And so I don't see any reason to put a bunch of DRM on something.
Right. Now, do we suspect the print will be just USA release, or is it going to be around the world release?
It depends how you define around the world release. We don't have a distributor international yet. So if somebody wants to buy the magazine, overseas, we'll ship it directly to them for whatever the shipping costs are. The initial, actually, a lot of stuff is still being worked out as far as distribution goes.
Okay.
Because, this is the third magazine that I've started, the first gaming magazine I've ever done. But I've done this twice before. And what happens every time with the first issue of a magazine is the distributors want to see the actual thing before they'll pick it up. So right now, we've got distributors we're talking to, but they need to see it before they decide they're going to take it. So at first, if people want the magazine, they'll just buy it directly from us, pick it up at a convention, and hopefully by issue 2, we'll be on regular distribution and in game stores and all that kind of stuff.
Speaking about issue 2, would it be a quarterly release, monthly release, bi-yearly release, or
quarterly release? Okay. So the way we have it scheduled for 2013 is that the first issue of 2013 will be out to coincide with GaryCon. We've just by pure luck we managed to set our schedule so that we'll be in time for things like the GAMA, the Game Manufacturers Association.
GAMA trade show, yeah.
GAMA trade show, as well as there'll be an issue right before Gen Con.
Oh, cool.
That sort of stuff. But yeah, quarterly at first. If it's successful and we do well, we'd like to be monthly someday. But you have to take these things one step at a time.
Okay, cool. Now let's get a little bit more into the meat of the magazine. Not telling us what will be in the magazine, but what will we see be covered in the magazine?
Yeah, that's a question a lot of people have been asking, and makes a lot of sense, right? It's a magazine, isn't it? So the intent of this is to be a gaming magazine in general. We're not going to focus on any one system.
Right.
This is about the tabletop gaming as a hobby. So broadly speaking, we're covering role-playing, strategy, and wargaming. The emphasis will be heavily on the role-playing, but when there's some really great strategy game out that we want to talk about, we will. We're not going to do reviews per se. The thing about a print magazine that comes out 4 times a year or even once a month is it's never going to be as fast as a blog.
True.
And you should have both. Blogs are widespread, and I love to read a ton of blogs and get to find out about stuff the minute it happens. But on the other hand, there's things that you want to have that are more long form and that you want to keep for a really long time. So one of the not policies, but viewpoints, whatever you want to say, of the magazine is that we want to write about things that help people enjoy and play games. And so if you pick the magazine up 5 years or 10 years later and you read the article, it's still useful. Mm-hmm. So reviews are really great on the web because, you want to know if something's good and you run to the web and you find out about it as soon as it comes out, and that's the best place to read reviews. There doesn't really make sense in the year 2012 to put reviews in a print magazine anymore. So stuff like that won't be in there. It'll just be stuff that actually helps you, really enjoy and play the games.
Okay. So we should see articles on how to, do this in certain systems, or maybe a different way to play a board game or some type of thing like that. Yeah.
So I can give you little examples, from this. For example, Steve Kenson is writing in this first issue about Icons. If you know the Icons superpowered role-playing game.
Yes.
He's got an article called Great Power for Icons. We have Dennis Astari talking about magic in fantasy role-playing games in general. There's a lot of times when we talk about fantasy role-playing games in general because, the world of fantasy role-play is got so many different systems that you can write things that can be pretty easily translated from one to another. So we're trying to, focus on things like that. There is, I can tell you some of the people in the first issue at least. So we've got Len Makofka. If you remember, he used to have Lehman's Tiny Hut.
Yep.
And of the all of Lehman's stuff, that was all him. He's doing a regular feature. Tim Kask, of course, has a feature in this issue, and we'll have a regular one from then on. Obviously, both Ernie Gygax and Luke Gygax have stuff that they write about in here. I've got other great people like Ethan Gilsdorf, Cory Doctorow, Let me think here. And of course, we've got comics because you've got to have comics. I mean, so we have Marvin the Mage, who's really great comic that I was a fan of before I met Jim.
Yeah.
And Jim Wampler, who does the comic, has actually become one of the editors at Gygax Magazine.
Oh, good for him. Good.
He's the art director now because it turns out that he's actually a really brilliant artist and a great art director. He can really get the best out of people.
Now, I heard a rumor is that since you're a big fan of Order of the Stick, might do an appearance in there.
We do have Order of the Stick. We have exclusive Order of the Stick comics.
Awesome.
We have a contract with Rich. He's going to be in here for this issue and all of 2013, and then hopefully we'll be able to sign him up again for years after that. And I'll go ahead and say the other one because I'm really excited. The other comic that we have in here is Phil Foglio. What's New with Phil and Dixie is back.
So a lot of the good old ones that we grew up reading are going to be back in the magazine. That'd be really cool.
If only we could have got Tramp to come out of retirement.
You never know.
No, I'm sure he's happy with what he's doing now.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so can we expect maybe in the future that you'll be accepting like reader submissions like Dragon Magazine had done in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I think any magazine should definitely be looking for reader submissions. So right now, I think if anybody's gone to the website, it's just a holding page right now because we aren't showing and announcing things yet, but there will be places on the site to submit. Generally, the best way to submit things, I mean, this isn't just for us, but for any magazine, the best thing to do is to submit a proposal before you go to the trouble of actually writing something.
Right.
And it's a really good idea to submit a proposal and even include some examples of your work, whether it's stuff that you've published somewhere else or whether you've self-published it or whatever it is. That kind of helps editors decide who to get back to.
Generally 500 words, proposal, what you want to do. A lot of gaming companies have their own proposal sections that you can look at as an example, I would assume, right?
Yeah. That's a good idea. We should put one of those up.
Sure.
But yeah, for example, with Gygax Magazine, we're going to be pretty long form. One of the things that I think is missing in magazines right now is nice, dense, information-heavy content. Because if you want something that's kind of light and quick, that's what the web's for. Right. If you're going to be picking up a print magazine that only comes out, once every 3 months, you should get the most for your money. So I'm really trying to get people to write nice, meaty things.
Awesome.
Actually, I haven't had a chance to really kind of say, who all's involved and kind of, call out to really the great work that's happening here. So, Gygax Magazine is being made. There's 6 of us right now. Ernie Gygax, or Ernest Gary Gygax Jr., as his real name is. Mm-hmm. Luke Gygax. Tim Cass, as you know, was the first editor of Dragon Magazine, and among many other things.
Yeah.
Too many to count. James Carpio, who's a really great figure in the gaming scene. He runs Chapter 13 Press, works extensively with a lot of conventions out here. Also is publisher of games like Pulp Era, for example. And then Jim Wampler, who I already talked about as our art director. So really great team. And the magazine has 3 publishers. In other words, there's 3 of us who are the main partners in the magazine, and that's Ernie Gygax, Luke Gygax, and myself. So the name Gygax Magazine refers to the Gygax family, who's obviously been involved in gaming all the way through, and that's what it refers to.
Will, you have any questions about the magazine?
Well, I mean, I have lots and lots and lots of questions. And as one that's a huge critic on magazines, because I do agree with Jason's comment that magazines are lacking. So I'm looking forward to your magazine, seeing what it's going to come out with, and see if it's going to be up to the par with some of the magazines that have come out in the past and have either been discontinued or whatever the case may be. Now, being that this is not an edition. You said it's an edition, a neutral edition kind of magazine, right? So anything could be printed in this magazine?
Yeah, we're not focusing on any one particular game system.
Okay.
Can I one thing though from what you just said? I just realized that something I said earlier might have kind of come off wrong when I said that there's some magazines that are lacking. I'm not talking about gaming magazines. I'm talking about just kind of the magazine industry in general.
Right.
But there is one thing I wanted to say since it didn't come up in the interviews yet, and that's about Kobold Quarterly. Because
oh yes, and that's one thing I really wanted to harp on, because I find that to be an extraordinary magazine, and Wolfgang Bauer and that whole gang there at Paizo are doing a bang-up job with that magazine.
Right. That's well, I don't. It's not published by Paizo, but at any rate, so the Quarterly unfortunately announced that we're going to stop printing the magazine, and that announcement came really recently, and it really bummed me out. I was really sad about this because, as far as I'm concerned, it's one of the best independent magazines that I've ever seen in any sort of thing, whether we're talking about music, games, whatever. I'm a big fan of everything that they've done. I'm really glad that they're continuing to do their other things with adventures and things like that. But I guess I just wanted to say, because a couple of people had asked, are you happy that you're not going to have that competition? And I was really upset when I got that question from people, because I'm really upset that they're not going to be around. And I don't think that there's such a thing as cutthroat competition in a thing like the hobbyist game world, because the whole point is that a rising tide lifts all boats. When somebody does well, the industry does better, and it really sucks that we aren't going to have this great magazine. And they're really covering different types of stuff than we would anyways, because they're very Pathfinder heavy, as you pointed out. So I'm hoping that they will return, and because I know that Wolfgang and the rest of them are not going away. They're continuing to be really heavy forces in the gaming industry and everything that they're doing, and I love the stuff they do, and I hope that they keep doing it and even get a chance to come back with Kobold Quarterly.
Okay.
Yeah, and I wasn't insinuating that Paizo was behind it. What I'm saying is that's where I buy my Kobold Quarterly from them. Yeah, it's good. That's excellent. I'm glad that this magazine's coming up. My question on content is this, though: what's going to make your magazine stick out? I mean, you talk about content. You're looking for. I know you mentioned the comics and everything. I don't buy magazines for comics. I just don't care for it. I prefer stuff that is useful to me for my games. If comics takes up, a portion, I don't know, you're not telling us how much percentage, that these comics are going to take up, or I don't know how much ads are going to take up. How much of the magazine percentage will be, just strictly for enhancing a gamer's game?
Yeah, good question. Page-wise.
60%, 70%, 80%, that's what I need to know, because when you look at magazines, and there's a number of magazines I can talk about, and the first thing I do is I count how many pages are devoted to ads, how many pages are devoted to minutia that really doesn't enhance my game, or, whatever. That's what I'm interested in knowing.
Well, I'm not going to try to tell you a magazine. So, if it comes down to, kind of arguing what's good to have in a magazine and what's not good to have, and what do you want and what does the next person want, I mean, honestly, I would just say take a look at it, and if it's the kind of thing that you think you enjoy, then please buy it, read it, and share it with your friends. And if it's not interesting, then, that's totally cool, because everybody has different stuff that they like.
Definitely true, and everyone has the same opinion. How many pages are we expecting to have each magazine, roughly?
It just depends on how many submissions we get and how the advertisers go and all that kind of stuff. The first issue is going to be, I think it's 64 pages.
Oh,
plus,
wow.
Hopefully we'll see that go up over the issues, and it really just, I think it really is going to be a reflection of the health of the games industry. Well, if we do a good job. I mean, if we're making a junky magazine, then it doesn't matter. We'll just, it'll get small or whatever. But if we're doing a good job and we're reflecting the kind of things that people care about and want to read about, then I think, if the game industry is healthy, then you'll see us grow as well.
Understood. Will, you have any questions about the magazine?
Yes. Let's go back to the name of the magazine. Why Gygax? Why couldn't it be another name? Because if an old school game, there's a lot of old school gamers out there. If they just hear Gygax Magazine, it's going to be, generalized right off that it has something to do with specific editions of certain games or the works of certain people and so on and so on. Why choose that? Well, it appears to be that there's some controversy right now just with the name itself.
Right.
So, I mean, look at Cobalt Quarterly. I mean, you just look at the Cobalt Quarterly and say, it's talking about kobolds. I mean, that sounds pretty cool. We know where kobolds come from pretty much. But why Gygax, though? Because to me, when I hear Gygax Magazine, I'm thinking about specific people, specific entities, and a specific game.
Well, one of the things that is really core to Gygax Magazine is this idea of bridging the old and the new. We're making a magazine that it's not old school and it's not new school. It doesn't take a stance, on one or the other. I think what's important is to look to all the things that are great about gaming now. All the great games that are out today and the great stuff that's on the horizon, all the things there are to do, without forgetting, the history and the traditions that have made gaming what it is today. And I think that Luke and Ernie are really a great embodiment of that spirit. The name Gygax Magazine, I think, speaks to something that's core to what we're trying to do as a magazine in general, which is to celebrate all of the great gaming that's going on right now, to talk about all of the things that are happening in the gaming industry today and the great things that are going to happen tomorrow, without forgetting the traditions and the history that have brought the gaming industry where it is right now. And in Luke and Ernie Gygax, you have two men who are really the embodiment of that idea. Here you have both of these guys who grew up obviously with role-playing games and were a big part of the early Dungeons and Dragons and many other role-playing games at the time, and who are still gaming today and who are not, neither of them is stuck in the past. These are guys who like to play all kinds of new things that go on, who are both running a convention right now, GaryCon.
Yeah.
And if you go to GaryCon, you'll see it's not all about old school gaming. There's a whole lot of great new stuff being played all the time, including Hackmaster. But the thing is, they don't forget the past either. And so, that's kind of really what the idea here with the name is to kind of to look at what we're doing as a bridge between both worlds.
Okay.
Cool. That's excellent. That's good to hear and everything. And I'd like to see how successful you are in bridging the new and the old together in today's days with the kind of games that are coming out now. That's good to go.
Awesome. Well,
I have another question.
Oh, go.
When it comes to the content of the game, as far as how much content is put into the magazine, is this going to be a fan-driven or a fan-generated magazine, or are you all going to come up with the majority of the material, you're just going to pick and choose?
Oh, no. This is definitely not a fanzine. And it would be really hard to come up with enough paper to cover all the different things would want to submit. So it's a good question, because I think if we're doing a good job with the magazine, we'll see a lot of people submitting things that they'd like to see in the magazine. And I don't want to make people think that we're deliberately leaving anything out, because there is just going to be a limit to the amount of stuff we can cover. So we're going to be striving for the most professionalism that we can bring. And I think we owe it to anybody who buys the magazine to make sure that we have the best writers and artists that we are able to get.
All right, that's an excellent response, because I saw a post not too long ago in a forum stating we don't need another fanzine. I said, well, this is not what it sounded to me. It sounded like it was a regular magazine. I'm glad that you clarified that. Thank you. Yeah.
There's, that's the thing, and why I'm trying to not read the forums too much right now, because I have a tendency to want to reply to people when they ask me something. So I know there's a lot of kind of speculation. Is it this? Is it that? And it's, I guess part of the reason I was hoping we could, have the magazine out before anybody knew about it was because then people could just look at it and see. And everybody's going to have something in their mind and a different question. And I think the one thing that everybody has in common is that they are saying these things with the best of intentions. Whether somebody's saying something, about what they're expecting to see or what, think something means. I think for everybody who's out there talking about Gygax Magazine right now, they wouldn't be talking about it if they weren't pretty passionate about gaming, because they wouldn't be plugged in enough to know it, and that they really care about the games that they play. And I think that's a really good sign, for the gaming industry as a whole.
Yeah, excellent. And my question is, will you all discuss, now I know this is you're saying this is going to be based, enhancing people's gaming needs and everything. Now, is this going to be restrictive to role-playing games, or will this include miniature games, board games, and the like?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of interest in both wargaming, whether it's skirmish games, large historical games, whatever, as well as strategy games. I'll board games, but I kind of refer to strategy games to differentiate from somebody who's playing Monopoly, and so when there's something really interesting to talk about with those, and somebody is available to write the article, we're going to put it in.
Excellent.
I'd really love resurgence in miniatures, wargaming. And I think that probably is going to happen over the next few years as new technologies kind of come into play. But at the moment, miniatures wargaming is a subset of a subset of a subset. So we have to kind of, think about how to cover it in a way that's going to be, useful to as wide of an audience as possible.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And how about areas for conventions, gaming conventions? I know that you all don't attend as many conventions as other people do and everything. How are you going to cover that aspect of the gaming community with this magazine, or will it be covered?
I don't know who it is that doesn't attend conventions, but yeah, that kind of goes to like what I was saying about reviews. That if it's timely information that kind of has an expiration date on it, then we won't put it in the print magazine. We'll have things on the web, but at the same time, I don't think you need to cover things that are already well covered elsewhere. I don't think anybody has any trouble finding out what's happening at Origins next year, for example.
No, you can go around the web and figure that out pretty easily, yeah.
Yeah, so we probably won't. We definitely won't get into convention stuff in the actual magazine because that kind of information has an expiration date on it. But, will we be at the conventions? You bet. Absolutely. I like to go to as many as I can afford to go to every year. And so, hopefully I can come up with an excuse to go to even more.
Of course, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if we can sell a couple of magazines at a convention and pay for a hotel room, that'd be awesome.
Agreed.
You don't need to do that when you got friends all over the place and everything that have rooms, and you can live in their rooms while you're going to the conventions.
Yeah, there you go.
Any more questions about the magazines, Will?
No, I'm good, my friend.
Okay, let's move on to the second part of the cat out of the bag. You are Gygax Magazine you're involved with. Now you're also involved with the trademark TSR.
Yeah.
Go ahead and speak.
The publisher of Gygax Magazine is TSR, and first thing I need to clarify what that means. This is a new company that, and when I said that Luke and Ernie were they're partners in TSR. So Gygax Magazine is just a product; it's not a company. TSR is the actual company. We've just formed it. Although the trademark, I registered the trademark in 2011. It was in, I guess, I don't know the legal terms here, and I don't want to get into talking about a bunch of legal stuff in case I say the wrong thing. But basically, the trademark wasn't registered by anybody for gaming purposes, and so I went to a lawyer and I said, is this something that could I start a new gaming magazine or a gaming company and call it TSR? And he's like, well, yeah, if it's been abandoned, if nobody's using it now. So, he did all the stuff you do, did a search and, checked for all of that. We registered the name, and it's been, like I said, it's been registered by us since 2011. So yeah, we're starting a new company called TSR.
Is this TSR the Tactical Studios role like it was in the past, or just TSR you're using?
There's no connection to the TSR Tactical Studies rules that existed in the past. That company was bought by Wizards of the Coast. Wizards of the Coast owns all of their copyrights, all of their property. That's them. That company ceased to exist back in, 99, 97, something like that?
Whenever Peter Atkins, 99 when Peter bought it, yeah. Okay, so who's involved with TSR? Is any different from the Gygax Magazine or the same people?
It's the same people. Right now we're a company that's got one product.
Okay, and what can we see in the future printing-wise from TSR other than the gaming magazine? Is there any speculation yet or no?
Well, definitely a lot of people speculating.
Your speculation.
A lot of people speculating. And for myself, I've really discovered that it's important. Well, you want to have a roadmap for where you want to go with things, but you really need to focus on succeeding at what you're doing first. So the first question is, will Gygax Magazine be a success? Are we going to make something that people like and they want to see? And then any question of other stuff that we do beyond that will come next. The one thing I'll rule out, because I think there's something. I don't want to talk too much about things that we have on our roadmap, but I do want to rule some things out. And the thing that I'm categorically ruling out is trying to make, quote unquote, the next great role-playing game. We're not going to be doing that. I don't think anybody would say that right now in the world what we need is another tabletop role-playing game. Seriously, all the games that are out there, there's a ton of really good systems, whether they're in print or out of print. Just because something's out of print doesn't mean you have to stop playing it, obviously. Right?
Right.
So yeah, I really don't think that's, like a hole in the market that needs to be filled.
Okay, so no submitting those clones to Jayson because he's not going to. No, I'm kidding. He'll look at them, but who knows what happens.
I like that mentality.
Is there anything else you'd like to speak about, Jayson, while you have an open forum to speak to everybody out there listening?
Yeah, okay. I guess the last thing that I'd want to say about what we're doing is I just hope that everybody kind of sees the spirit that we're doing this in and enjoys it. We're a bunch of passionate gamers, all of us. Tim, Ernie, Luke, James, Jim, and me. And what we want to do is we felt that there was a place for a magazine like this that could really just kind of make gaming better for everybody in a tiny sense. Something that I've just wanted to read. I think the best reason to make something is because you want it for yourself. And I just really wanted to read a more general purpose gaming magazine like this again and see some of these writers writing again, some of the great writers that I've read in the past and some of the really great ones that are out there now. I just wanted to see them in one place, and that's kind of what it really comes down to. So I hope that people see this and that we do a good enough job that everybody's happy with it and that we can make something people like.
Awesome. Will, you have any questions?
Yeah. There's two things I'd like to bring up. This is going to be interesting now. When we're talking about, the writers, you mentioned a couple times you were looking for experienced writers, the great writers and all that and everything. Now, are you saying that that's the only kind of submission you want, or are you willing to accept submissions from anyone out there? And if it gets printed because it's good, or if it doesn't, it's just the way it is, right? Is that what you're saying?
If somebody's a great writer, it doesn't mean that they've been published 100 times already. Somebody can be a great writer coming to us for the first time.
Yes.
One thing I just want to say is that we're looking for great writers.
Okay. I just wanted to make that clear because it sounded like, there's only certain people that you're going to accept from when you mentioned certain people's names. And I just wanted to make sure that we're straight on that. Because, like I said, this is something that is open to people in the community. So, my point is on this is a magazine you are creating for gamers. But being that it's only your small group of people behind the magazine, I don't think that you speak for the entire community. I think that the community as a whole has a lot more input than just a group of 4, 5, 6 people that run this magazine. That's where I'm coming from.
I don't think anybody speaks for the whole community. And that's the thing, I came out of the kind of the punk and the goth scenes in the early 90s. And so I've kind of been through this idea of, who speaks for the community and watching kind of subgroups form and all that kind of fun stuff that goes on. So it's kind of familiar, what I've seen in the gaming community over the years as well. I think anybody who claims to speak for as diverse and kind of hyper-intelligent community as possible. You know, that's the thing about the gaming community is you've got a lot of hyper-intelligent and easily argumentative people in it, so it's fun to watch, but I wouldn't imagine anybody could say something and, you know, have everybody agree with them.
Yes,
so,
I absolutely agree.
Yeah, well,
you see, my things. Well, I'm going to agree because that's the fact and everything, and let's just be realistic. I would say the majority of gamers in the community are not members of an online gaming forum.
Right.
I could easily say that. So when you go to a gaming convention and say, have you ever heard of this? And you talk to people that play certain editions, they don't know nothing about forums. They don't know about this online community persona thing that goes on. But the thing I'm going to say, my personal comment is that I am personally going to invest in this magazine. I like to see what y'all have to offer. Because what happens is when the game store owners talk to me and say, well, Will, what do you think about this magazine? You know, you got it. You tell me. What do you think? Should we carry it in the store? Should we go to our distributors and say, hey, we want this magazine, you know, distributed to the store? See, that's where word of mouth and that's where action comes in altogether and everything, you know. So I'm just making sure that I get a gist of everything that's going on because, like I said, if it's a good magazine, then, you know, I'm going to tell the game store owners, this is a magazine you should carry in your you know, your stock and everything because this is something different. It's not, you know, this magazine or that. I'm not going to say no names and everything. I don't want to dog no one out. But, you know, it's something it's open. And hopefully, like you said, it brings the old school, the new school gamers together under one umbrella.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I agree with you. You know, one of the things that I've kind of found when I go to conventions, because they've changed so much over the years, you know, the first one I ever went to was in 1988. It was OmaCon in Omaha, Nebraska. And, you know, it was dominated by science fiction fans and, you know, war gamers and role-playing gamers. And I don't think anybody even so much as wore a single costume, right? And, you know, now you go to any of the big conventions and they're really split between you've got role players, you've got war gamers, you've got cosplay, which is, you know, a huge thing. The whole anime scene is so big. You've got the card game scene and all that kind of stuff. And I really think it's kind of interesting when I go around to some of the conventions and try to hang out with the people that do stuff I don't know anything about, and get an insight into these other kind of related but not the same cultures. It's a real eye-opener for me. And so the more that I think these different geek cultures can cross-pollinate, the better it's going to be.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Not that we're covering any anime. We're not – just I want to make that clear. We're not covering anime in the magazine. But,
no, that's good. That's okay.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's cool and everything. And it's just like I said, when I go to gaming conventions, just like you said, I run into – I mean, I've been dealing with these entities. I call them entities because they are just their own little niche groups. And, you know, whether it be the furries and the anime folks and the cosplay and the LARPers and all these others. And the funny thing is that at some of these conventions, and I'm glad you mentioned science fiction because my thing is – This magazine you're talking about being in a game magazine, so it's going to cover genres like science fiction. It's going to cover horror. It's going to cover pulp and all that stuff. So your magazine will cover those genres then.
Yeah, I mean, if people want to read about something and somebody's got a good article they can write about it, it'll get in the magazine.
That is excellent news to hear. I'm really glad that it's an open content kind of magazine like that. That's excellent.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I hope that's what people want. It's what I want, so there you go.
Well, that's what I desire in a magazine. When I get a magazine, and, you know, we mentioned Kobold Quarterly, and, you know, like I said, kudos to Wolfgang Bauer and the gang there. I think that is just a class act magazine, and it's one of the best magazines I've read in a long time. And if your magazine can, you know, take that pedestal, believe me, you'll have my support. That's what I'm looking for in a magazine. That's what I desire. And I do know that a good portion of the gamers that I interact with, you know, either on a daily basis or a weekly basis, a monthly basis, or those at conventions, they desire the same kind of content out of a magazine.
No, thanks. Yeah, and you know, we're definitely not going to replace Kobold Quarterly. The stuff that we're doing, I think, is very different from Kobold Quarterly. It's going to look different. It's going to have different types of content. Really, all the time that we've been planning this magazine, we've been looking at what's out there on the web and in print and everything else, and saying, let's not try to do what somebody else is doing, especially if they're doing a good job with it. And we looked at Kobold Quarterly and said, they've got this covered. They're doing it really well. There's no need to try to tread on their ground. So if somebody's, unfortunately, if somebody's looking for something to replace Kobold Quarterly, we're not it. We're a different kind of thing. And like I said, I hope that's because I hope they come back.
Cool. Now, I saw a logo of TSR that's floating around. Is that true? The true logo you're going with now, or
if you saw a dragon in a circle with the letters TSR below it, that is that's the logo of the new company. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's designed by Jim Wampler. A lot of work went into that. I'm really, really proud of it. I think it's a beautiful logo.
I think it's a great looking logo. My only concern was it looks a lot like the Obsidian Portal logo, which
I don't know what that is.
Might want to look at that.
What is Obsidian Portal?
It's a website for gaming that you can do your campaigns on and blog the information about it. And
okay. Yeah, no, I haven't heard of that.
Take a look. Anyway, so any last questions, Will?
No, I think he pretty much covered everything, the gist of everything. I'm very happy with the direction of this magazine. I'm very pleased to hear everything. I don't care about the drama. All I want to see is this magazine come to fruition and another tool that'll be available to the gaming community out there. Just to strengthen it, and make it more knowledgeable for us to rely on these tools out there. And in a magazine, I think this is one of the best routes to go.
Thank you. Yeah, I think when you really love something and when you're part of a community that you care about, you want to do something to be a part of it, Yeah,
that's cool. I like that. I'm looking forward to this. And like I said, hey, good luck with it. And like I said, I'm going to buy it. And, I'm going to give it a couple shots. Like I said, I'll buy them until you say stop. Which I hope is never.
There you go. You got an automatic fan for life there.
Well, I mean, it's like this.
Until we do something stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
No. I like magazines. Don't get me wrong. I prefer to have physical copies in my hand. I do not like PDFs and all that. I don't do those notebooks, e-books, or whatever those things are. I like physical copies. I like reading. That's what appeals to me most of anything. The fact that we're getting a magazine. It's no more having to buy an online e-zine. I can't stand them.
Yeah, most people are annoyed at that, yeah. What are you going to do? Well, Jason, we thank you for coming to sit down with us this week.
Yeah, thanks for asking me.
Spilling all the beans for us and letting us know what's what and clearing the news. Well, there was a lot of stuff to clear up, and when I contacted you, I felt it would be the best idea for you to sit down and just dispel all the rumors and the stupidity running wild out there.
Yeah, well, like I said, I think that everybody has the best intentions at heart when they talk about things like this, because they care about the gaming community, they care about their games, and they want to, they want to see the best stuff possible happen. So it's only natural that people are going to, speculate.
Yeah.
Very true. With that said, we wrap up this edition, and we say thank you again to Jason, and hopefully he'll be back in the future. As many people have commented on the forums, we miss our Jason.
That's nice of them. Hi, everybody.
So keep it original, keep it old school, and good night, everybody.
See ya.
Roll for initiative.